The way a guest feels about your casino affects more than reputation. It can shape how they visit, how long they stay, and how much they spend, and whether they tell anyone else to come. And in an environment where loyalty is hard won and competition is everywhere, that matters. Because feedback is not just commentary, it's often the clear signal of where the guest experience is working, where it's breaking down, and where revenue may already be slipping. Hi there, and welcome back to Drive Time Marketing, the show where we help casino marketers turn strategy into action and insights into impact. I'm Julia Carcamo, and today we're talking about how casinos can stop treating feedback like a report card and start using it as a revenue signal. My guest today is Robert Levine. Robert, welcome. Can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Julia, thanks for having me on today. It's wonderful to spend more time with you. My name is Robert Levine. I have been working in the casino industry for a little over 20 years. I got my start at regional casinos with Harrah's, ultimately Caesars Entertainment, before spending a little bit of time with Penn National Gaming and the team down in Florida with Hard Rock. We opened up our organization about 4.5 years ago, and the goal of ComOps was all about breaking down the silos of commercial operations.
Mhm.
So that's everything from hotel pricing strategy to understanding the sentiment of customers, digital transformation, and we also operate our own contact center to do inbound reservations and outbound telemarketing. So we're excited to be here, and I'm excited to share a little bit more about how we help support over 40 casinos better understand customer sentiment.
Well, okay, let's start with that. Let's start with why feedback matters more than casinos typically think. So, when marketers hear the word feedback, many of them still think of surveys and complaint logs, customer comment cards, or online reviews, but you make a much bigger case than that. Why should casinos see guest sentiment as something that's tied directly to financial performance?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. And before I dive into that, we just helped launch one casino operator that thought they were capturing quite a bit of feedback. They got 150 comment cards a day. So reality is it's actually not that many. But in the first month of a more active listening program, they picked up 15,000 signals. So
Wow.
most casino operators don't have a feedback problem.
Excuse
Feedback's a
me.
gift. What they have is really an action problem. So most casino operators aren't lacking data. They, can go on TripAdvisor, go on Google, they can see it. But being able to aggregate that and find trends and actual insights and build out action planning, that's where the rubber hits the road. We work with casinos to not really understand all of that feedback, but to aggregate it, give them insights,
Mhm.
help coach action to drive real revenue results and also important to reduce the risk of patron churn.
So, what do casinos get wrong typically when they treat feedback as customer service issues instead of a business issue?
Yeah, well, I think the big thing is that a lot of casinos treat service breakdowns or service failures or even positive experiences. They celebrate them in silos. The customer
Mm,
doesn't want to interact with our organizations in silos. They view us as one integrated
yes.
complex. And to make it even more challenging, capturing feedback isn't just about their visit to the property. Our customers interact with us all the time. They call us, and for some
Yeah.
customers and potential customers, that could be the first and last time they ever interact with our business. So understanding that full customer journey is absolutely critical.
Where do you see the strongest connection between sentiment and net revenue?
Yeah, I think hopefully this isn't much of a surprise to the operators and leaders listening to this podcast. But our VIP customers, there's this misconception that they share their feedback with their player development or executive or host.
Right?
And I'm sure that's happening.
Yeah.
But is that feedback stopping there? Are we aggregating that? Are we understanding if there's a trend for perception of luck? Are we understanding if there's trends with long wait times at the front desk or at the
Mm.
loyalty club center? So being able to aggregate all of that up, especially at the VIP level. For every one customer that shares their feedback, there's probably 10 more that are
Yeah.
just silent. And that's real risk in your business.
Yeah. So, I guess we didn't mention to our viewers and listeners that you were just recently a boot camp coach. And one of the things that I liked in your presentation was the reminder that guests interact with the casino before they arrive, during the visit, and after they leave. That's something that I've talked about too, those kind of four moments that are very critical. Where do casino marketers most often miss important feedback signals across the journey?
Yeah, I mean, great point. The feedback needs to be understood before, during, and after. And we spend a lot of time thinking about the feedback that guests give us after they leave the
Hmm.
property. But during the visit, there's opportunities to capture sentiment. Before they get there, there's
Yeah.
opportunities to capture sentiment. And it's not just about surveys. There's operational data that can be combined with the actual sentiment survey, which unlocks another source of truth. And many of us have, come up in that kind of school where we learned that customer sentiment is often a reflection of employee sentiment. Do our
Yeah.
team members
Yeah.
have the right tools? Are they motivated to deliver? Are they scheduled properly? So we think there's a huge opportunity between not just understanding the customer journey, but also understanding the employee experience and being able to look at those results side by side.
Yeah. I guess I should ask, are you suggesting that we do surveys along all these different touch points?
I mean, there is an opportunity for
Hmm.
surveys, but we know that there is some degree of survey fatigue
Yeah.
for some different levels of patron. A
Hmm.
lot of that's based on their loyalty and based on really the casino's ability to listen to their feedback.
Hmm.
When we listen and we act, actually the response rate goes up. But some leading organizations are starting to pull in all of their call recordings and listening to
Okay.
those call recordings as an example to understand what are customers actually talking about, what is their perception of value during the reservation process. We pull in sentiment from online review sites. Some of these casinos have thousands of Google feedback
Hmm.
a month, and being able to pull all that in is something that can really set you apart. So no, surveys aren't the only way we
Yeah.
should listen to customer feedback.
Okay, so if a casino really wanted to understand guest sentiment better, what touch points should they pay closer attention to first?
Yeah, I think it's very important to think about all customers aren't created equal. Many of our casinos capture 80% of our earning potential from 20% of our customers. So being able to
Hmm.
understand and segment that VIP group of here are the customers that are detractors. These are customers that are actually taking away value from your organization. Huge
Right.
opportunity for churn. You've got your passive customers and these customers, they want you to listen. They want to give you more loyalty. And then your promoters, there's opportunities to enhance how we're thinking about reinvestment with them.
Hmm.
So if you're going to get it right, getting it right at that VIP tier is so important.
Yeah. So one of the other discussions that I've been having with marketers is about friction. And I think that there are silent friction points in the guest journey that don't always show up in formal surveys. I mean, do you think that still affects whether someone comes back?
Um, yeah. So, I use a couple examples. And, I think we have a tendency as casino leaders, we'll walk the floor on a Saturday night. We'll
Hmm.
walk the floor on a Tuesday morning and we'll see something and we'll spend a lot of time and effort to fix that. And
Right.
that very well might be important to our guests, but it's one or two observations. So it really is important to make data-driven decisions at this
Hmm.
point, especially since data is so easy to capture. So it's not just about surveys. I'll give you an example: long wait times at a hotel front desk or
Yes.
at a service bar. These are helping us to understand that these are operational challenges, understaffed peak hours.
Yeah.
We know when people are waiting in lines, they're not gambling. And to add insult to injury, they're actually frustrated. And it creates friction with your customer. So we work with some clients, one in particular we work with in Arizona, and we have used customer surveys to find potential service failures, and that casino follows up with an active secret shop program that
Oh,
is
okay.
targeted just on what they're learning from customer sentiment.
I want to tell you about two summer events I'm really excited about from Casino Marketing Bootcamp. The first is Casino Marketing Bootcamp Midwest, August 4th, 5th, and 6th in Tulsa. If you've been stuck in the day to day and wishing you had time to really think through your marketing plan, your priorities, and your calendar, this event is for you. It's designed to help you turn your ideas into action, which is why the theme has always been where your ideas become your blueprint for success. The second is our brand new Casino Marketing Bootcamp for direct marketing. That's going to be August 24th and 25th. Direct marketing is still one of the most powerful tools casino marketers have, and this event is all about helping you make every list, every offer, and every dollar work harder. So, whether you need to build a plan or strengthen performance, I'd love to see you at one of these summer casino marketing bootcamp events. You can find the details at casinomarketingbootcamp.com. And yes, we do offer early bird pricing and group discounts for teams of three or more. So one of the other points that you often make that I do as well, although we probably say it differently, is that you say that guests don't experience marketing, hotel, food and beverage, or player development separately. They experience one casino. And I've been saying this a lot to marketers that we have to be more proactive in that experience. How should the fact that we understand that casino customers experience the entire property, how should that change the way casino marketers are thinking about feedback and what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, couldn't be more true. We spend so much time developing a brand for our casino, developing a brand for our loyalty program. And what we're creating there is a promise
Hmm.
to the customer. Uh, and the customer isn't thinking about, valet as being a different
Right.
organization in a casino. They want that unified visit. They are expecting that level of service, especially if they're a VIP customer, from the moment their player development or host calls them until the moment they leave the
Yeah.
property. And we know, I'll just use another example from hotel pricing, but driving a customer into a hotel room meaningfully changes the share of wallet for that customer. And if they have a couple poor experiences, maybe it's a housekeeping or maintenance
Hmm.
issue, they are unlikely to continue to spend the night in that hotel.
Right.
And unless they are directly communicating with you, you might never know why that customer is declining.
So we in most cases, general managers, or if you're a bigger property, there might be a guest satisfaction point person. That their whole function is that. But marketers aren't usually part of this discussion. But what would you suggest a marketer do when feedback points to an issue they don't own, but it still affects the brand that they're trying to promote?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. And oddly enough, we see it, we talked about silos within the organization
Yeah,
operationally. We see silos in guest sentiment as well. So oftentimes the marketing team may own the online reputation management,
right.
whereas the hospitality team or an administrative or food and beverage, or to your point, guest experience may own all the survey program. So being able to combine both of those in one platform
Hmm.
helps to break down some of those silos. But you're right, this needs to start from the top.
Yeah,
The guest experience needs to take ownership at really the property executive level. The marketing team needs to be empowered to understand friction throughout the organization, even though they might not be able to, change all the levers of the operations. It's very important that they protect and understand how customers perceive that
yeah,
brand. Every friction point has a dollar value. And as marketing team leaders, I think there's a huge opportunity to connect those dots and
yeah.
understand, the impact to your revenue line item.
Yeah. So going back to the boot camp presentation you did, you we were both surprised that there were some properties in the room that really weren't knowledgeable about NPS and the whole notion of detractors and passives and promoters. Um, and so and and so you got a chance to explain that to our attendees. But with casinos with like this, with limited time and limited staff, where should the focus go first? Is it the tractors? Is it passives? Is it promoters? How do we make an impact when we don't have a lot of tools under our belts?
Yeah, I mean, launching a customer listening program that can give you insights and inspire action
Mhm.
and hold the team accountable to, those investments, it's not a big lift. So being able to actually, most casinos aren't really doing this today,
Right.
but being able to do it isn't a huge investment and it typically has huge ROI. But there's two things that I would ask casino operators that have very limited bandwidth or very limited budget to focus on. The first one are moments that really matter. That first impression, that peak emotional
Yeah.
connection when they have a big win or a big loss, that last impression before they leave. It's just a small example, but that valet experience for some of our best customers is actually very important. It's the first and
Hmm.
last experience they have. So those moments that matter are huge. If you do have the ability to identify who's a detractor, who's a promoter, and ultimately who's a passive customer, the biggest return on investment is going to be listening to those passive customers to
Oh,
help migrate them to promoters. We know that the incremental investment to make a passive customer a promoter will have the highest ROI. Convincing somebody that's an active detractor. These are customers that are giving you a zero, a one, two, three, all the way up to seven. It costs a lot of money, time, and effort to convince them to become a passive or to become a promoter. So it's not our recommendation to stop listening to them or to try to make it right. But we all have limited time, energy, bandwidth, money. The
right.
passives are where you're going to have the highest return on investment.
I would think that you probably in your work come across a lot of properties who say who or think that they should focus on the detractors. That passives are not doing anything bad, so they're okay. Let's just keep doing the same thing, but let's focus on the detractors. But you're saying those are really going to be much harder to convince your opportunities in the passives.
Yeah, I'm not certainly we don't have to give up on them, but what I've seen in my casino career is we get really passionate. We get really bought in. We want to fix problems, and we should fix problems. But we have limited ability
Yeah.
to support that. So I'll give you an example. I worked for a team that we thought putting in self-serve beverage was really important. We recognized friction with our customers. They were happy to order from a server or to use Boss or some type of ordering system.
Hmm.
But for those customers that wanted self-serve beverage, we had a lot of passive customers that were saying, "We like coming here, but we have friction with your beverage service."
Right.
Um, Adding self-serve beverage wasn't a huge investment, and we moved passive customers to promoters by
That's
making
great.
that investment.
That's great. Well, let's talk more about the money side of this. When you say sentiment has a financial impact, what are the clearest business outcomes casinos should be watching for?
Yeah, I mean it does have an impact, and the more mature a CX program you have, you'll be able to connect those dots at the patron level. So you'll be able to
Yeah.
study what is the life cycle of a customer, and as they become either passive to a promoter or hopefully not the other direction,
Yeah.
promoter to passive, we know that when a customer makes that transition up, that they visit more frequently. When they're there, they stay longer and the cherry on top, the velocity of their gaming actually increases. So
Mm.
either they're placing larger bets or they're placing more bets per hour. So we know that there's a direct financial outcome, and in a very mature organization that has a very developed CX program,
Yeah.
you'll be able to know that not just at the customer level, but to cascade it up at the loyalty card level, at the player development level. So which host or which PD executive has the most loyal database? Where are they seeing the lift? And those are just opportunities to celebrate success. But this is real. You can literally connect the dots.
Well, okay, so let's talk about how we talked about how some of our attendees at boot camp, they were either not doing any kind of sentiment work or they were just starting out or just being very basic. How can a casino begin connecting sentiment to things like loyalty and trip frequency, share a wallet, or reinvestment efficiency?
Yeah, I mean, the easy one is to execute a survey program. There's a lot of options out there, but it's shocking how many organizations continue to rely on comment cards or
Hmm.
even just the feeling that, oh, my best customers will communicate with their host,
Yeah.
and that'll fix it. But launching a survey program is not a tremendous lift. Certainly, there are platforms like Google and SurveyMonkey, and they work, but they're not enterprise level organizations. So
Right.
there are privacy gaps. And then also, you probably don't want, we call it metadata. You don't want to share metadata, which is really what's the guest preference, slot table game, what's their geographic
Right.
fight zone, what is their ADT. You don't want to migrate that data to something that isn't have enterprise security.
Yeah.
And that's where we have come in to help some of these organizations is we don't force you to use a database to match up customer sentiment. We marry it all into one platform. But it's not a huge lift. I mean, most of the organizations we work with are launching these programs in 4 to 6 weeks, and they're unlocking value the same day. So, anyways, it's pulling it all together is not the biggest investment of time, money, or effort.
So what do you say to someone who still sees sentiment as too subjective to measure against revenue?
Yeah, I mean, if a goal for your organization is to be more data driven, you actually need the data. So, we can't rely on just gut feel anymore. And being able to get that data, we already talked about how it unlocks value by understanding how folks are
Right.
migrating. But at the high end, these customers that are, very excited about your brand, they have high frequency, there are ways that you can use that as a lever to actually
Yeah.
reduce the marketing reinvestment you're making in them. There are ways to share that feedback on social media and to make add excitement to your website, or put it on Google, which increases your sort order and your SEO
Hmm.
optimization. I mean, there are actual ways that can reduce expenses associated with loyalty.
So for the casino marketer who's listening to this and knows they need to get a better at using feedback, what's for a marketer, what's their one practical first step they could take this month?
Yeah, I think the big one is, when I think about casino marketers and operators, we don't have like a feedback problem. If you go on Google, you'll be able to see what your customers are starting
Hmm.
to say
Yeah.
about you. We have an action problem. So being able, from a marketing standpoint, to start to improve some of those potential operational gaps, or it could even be marketing gaps.
Hmm.
Did we change reinvestment level? Are our customers or guests confused about the offers and loyalty program marketing like events? So there's insights that we can unlock. But the first way to start is to start to aggregate that data. There's a ton of noise. We think that in general, about 6 to 10% of your customers are going to share feedback that the machines are too tight, that they don't feel lucky. And there might be some truth to that. But if you're not aggregating that data and looking at how it's trending, it's possible that you have seasonality in your business. And during one of those seasons, that could jump to 12%,
Right.
which maybe that's okay. If seasonally it's staying the same, perhaps that's okay. But the best place to start is to understand and track these trends.
So let's talk about operators that have programs in place. What makes an operator have a good program versus an operator that has a great program?
Yeah, one of the things that I saw at the casino marketing boot camp, there was actually several folks there from this one organization, and their organization, out of all of our customers, has the highest response rate for their surveys. I mean, it's almost
Right.
40%. It's the top 1% of response
Oh,
rates
wow.
a casino program. It's tremendous. And part of that success is that every single survey that comes in through their program or online review, not just
Hmm.
surveys, it is assigned to somebody in their organization
Right.
to actually read it and respond to it. And when they respond, the goal is really saying,
Mm.
we heard you, and where appropriate, we're going to take action.
Right.
And because this is a high frequency market, their best and most important loyalty club members feel like they get a chance to help improve their experience. And as such, when they get their next survey, they want to continue to share
Yeah.
feedback because this particular key casino company, they don't have an issue with capturing feedback. They don't have an issue understanding the insights, and they don't have any issues making action. And that's what our casino customers want.
Okay, so we've come close to the end of the show, and I want to play a little game with you that we started playing with guests called Fan or Flop. So I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios, and you tell me whether you're a fan or whether you think it's a flop. And now some of our folks have volunteered fixes if they think there's a way to fix it. So
Fan flop and fix. I love it.
let's start with post-visit surveys are enough to understand guest sentiment.
Understanding post-visit surveys is a really important part of a CX strategy, but it's not good enough. So I'm going to call it a flop. There are easy ways to fix it, and that is aggregating all insights, which primarily for most casino operators are online reviews and surveys. But our most advanced partners are starting to pull in other
Yeah.
operational signals.
Um, so one of them I had was something I already know you're a fan of, and that was that casino marketers should spend more time trying to move passives than obsessing over promoters. So, how about if marketing is strong, guests will forgive most operational friction.
Yeah, huge fan. So we call this the service recovery paradox. So what we know is that if a customer has a poor experience and that experience is fixed quickly and
Hmm.
appropriately, their loyalty to that organization actually goes up,
Okay,
versus a customer that just comes in and has their expectations met. So what we're not recommending is to go out and create friction and then fix it. But certainly, if you have the opportunity to understand that there was friction and the ability to fix it, you improve loyalty. So,
great,
huge fan.
great. Okay, so before we end the show, what's the mindset shift you'd like most casino leaders to make around guest sentiment?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, feedback is only valuable if it actually changes behavior.
Yeah.
So the goal here isn't to collect more surveys, to identify more moments that matter, removing friction, creating experiences. The goal is actually listening,
Yeah.
finding insights, and most importantly, action. So, if your customers are and guests are going to tell you that there's something that is standing in the way from them truly enjoying visiting your
Hmm.
organization, you got to act on it. And especially as this becomes more omni-channel with guests visiting in person or
Yeah.
playing online, we want to make sure you win. There are so much competitive threat. You got to listen
Hmm.
and act.
Yeah. Well, Robert, this has been a great conversation. A second one in, I guess, less than a month since you were at boot camp just not too long ago. Where can our listeners and viewers find you if they'd like to work with you?
Yeah, we'd love to talk to all casino marketers. Sentiment programs aren't always owned by the hospitality or the administrative team. So we'd love to talk to everyone. This is really breaking down silos. Certainly, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. We also have a website, comops.com. We'd love to get in touch.
Great. And I'll put those links in the show notes for everyone. Thank
Awesome.
you, Robert, for joining us.
Thanks, Julia. Talk to you soon.
Well, I think we can see that casino guests don't experience property in departments. They experience one brand, one journey, and one overall feeling about whether the visit was worth repeating. That's why feedback matters more than most properties realize, because sentiment has a way of showing up in revenue. Thanks for joining me on Drive Time Marketing.